And we are live.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of
When two or more with the McCaws. It's been a good time, hasn't it? We've had an amazing week.
Oh yes,
I sounded so Birmingham there. I've had an amazing week.
An amazing week. No.
No, your Birmingham accent's getting good. What can we talk about from our week? We're going to Guatemala.
Yes, we're going in 24 days.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
We're so happy to go.
Confirmed, ready, done. We are en route. So that's exciting. What else has been going on?
Well, a lot is going on, but I think it's so long to tell the stories here.
There's a lot, and some of it we can talk about, and some of it we can't talk about.
Yeah.
So that's great.
We'll probably just do a live on Instagram one of these days to tell some bits.
Maybe
that can't be deleted after.
I don't know. Like maybe as things change and as things progress, we can definitely do that. But at the moment, it's a little bit of an early stage to be able to. But yeah, I think going to Guatemala. The other bits I can't really say. I couldn't really say at this point. But it's exciting, and it's been exciting for us. Isn't that right, baby? Isn't that right, girl? Where's the dog? Where's the dog? Where's the dog? Good girl. There's the dog. There she is. So yeah, that's been absolutely fantastic. But we thought we'd come and talk today, spend some time, because the last two podcasts we had, Karen and Brandon.
It's been amazing.
That was fantastic. We got two different perspectives on the same event, but how it affected them uniquely and individually, and that was just a real blessing. So if you're listening to this and you haven't yet heard the story, there's one, obviously Karen expresses from a mother in that situation, in her situation, really interesting insight and huge amounts of blessings to come from that. I'm sure she would have blessed many people that have watched that or listened to that already. And Brandon as well, we had a fantastic conversation about his perspective. It was really eye-opening for me. And I'm just glad we got to be able to do that. It's something that we'll be able to look back at and hopefully, just bless many, many, many people. Should we get into today's episode? Today's episode is about happiness. And the question is happiness, or should happiness be, the end goal? What do we think? No. That's our kind of go-to. I put on my Instagram story the other day, should this be the end goal? What do people think about it, right? And a lot of people put no, but some people also put yes, that actually our aim should be happiness. But we don't even debate this. This isn't even a debatable thing for us, that no is the answer for us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Guys, it's also worth reminding you that if you're watching on YouTube, fantastic. If you prefer to listen to it via podcast, we are available on all podcast platforms, and you just need to search When Two or More with the McCaws. And obviously on YouTube, we are here to be able to do that. You can watch this podcast if you are listening now by typing in Cross Kinetic on YouTube. And don't forget to like, subscribe where you're at. So I thought we'd start, first of all, by covering what is happiness. Now, Webster's dictionary has two definitions. A is a state of well-being and contentment, joy. And B is a pleasurable or satisfying experience. So, in a nutshell, happiness is something that is completely determined by you alone. It's not anybody else. It's you get to decide what makes you happy. That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because often we can think, you've made me upset. Do you know what I mean? Oh, computer's talking to me. But then also there's this idea of, you made me upset, and what am I going to do about this? But actually I think that we have life events that are thrown our way. But we have the decision to be happy about it or to be sad about it. What do you think to that? Yes, that's what you think.
Yes.
Great. Detail.
Well, I think it depends. It depends because, for example, you can say like, I decide if in sad or not. There are situations, for example, like clinical depressions or clinical, different factors that you cannot generalize everything, I think.
Yeah, okay,
because there are some exceptions.
Good shout. Definitely mental health and depression is.
Because I remember when I was suffering with anxiety,
Yeah.
people just said to me, "Oh, but just be calm."
Yeah.
Or "Oh, just
don't worry.
It's don't worry," and it's like as if I wouldn't
as if you've just decided to be that way. Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
So there are some
That's
exceptions.
True. Excellent. That's good. That's a good one. So, but we often also hear, I think, moving mental health and things just aside for a second, it's kind of this attitude that we have of, "I'll just do whatever makes you happy."
Yeah.
Don't we? It's like when you ask somebody for advice, at the end of the day, you're number one, do whatever whatever makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think today's goal is really just to unpack this and just see, and not to come up against, to be the provider of answers here, but just to have a discussion. I don't think that's our aim generally.
I think what you like talking about that in the Bible says, like, for example, if happiness will take you to your destiny, but happiness not always take you to your destiny. We can see it in the Bible in different, in Moses, in Jesus, in
We're going to get onto that.
Oh, well.
That's exciting, isn't it? We're going to come to the Christian perspective on it and biblical, but there are many different views, many different examples of people in the Bible that came up against this exact situation and
if
gave
they
real
would
wisdom
choose
on it.
happiness, they would never get to their destiny.
Definitely.
Yes.
So we try and search for happiness, don't we? Everywhere. Where are some of the areas that you maybe talk about it from a woman's perspective, and I'll talk about it from a guy's perspective? Where are some areas in which you think women search for happiness?
Maybe shopping.
Yeah, that's real.
Yes,
that is real.
And I find it difficult because sometimes I'm like the same,
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm feeling a bit down, so I just like to go online and just start buying things, just because I don't know, it just makes me happy.
Do you think it does? As in, like,
well, I think.
What is it about that? It's not obviously clicking add to cart and buy. So, which aspect of it do you think it is that makes you the happiest?
I don't know. I've tried to think about this exact question several times because I'm thinking, why am I doing this? It's just like I've always wanted to just buy things.
Yeah. I think for me, I think men also want to buy stuff, but I think it's the feeling of having it, like the feeling of getting it, the feeling of, if it's clothes, it's putting the feeling you get where it's like, if I feel good, if I look good, I feel good. So it's the feeling that's definitely a neutral gendered thing. Like, men also have this situation as well. What else do you think? Another situation that women would go through that they get happiness from? You feel they do? I'm just uploading this story we talked about.
I think people. What else? Like relationship, like some girls,
like women specifically. Yeah. Okay.
Like trying to find affection, and they think that if I get married, then I'll be happy. If I have a baby, then I'll be happy. If I am successful in something, I'll be happy.
That's good.
Things like that.
I think men. One thing that I have is like status or jobs or ability. Like whether it's being more intelligent or being better at something. Sports-wise has definitely been a thing for me in the past that I've been through. And just, I think that's just real situations that we feel, there is a range of different things, isn't there? But, and we crave happiness, and we do look for it in the wrong places, don't we? I used to go out clubbing a lot thinking that I know you don't think about it as directly as this for sure, but you certainly think I'm going to go out, look good, feel good, walk out and get approval from other people by going out. And that's what I thought would make me happy. And the truth is, no career, salary, spouse, children, holiday, life-changing experience, lottery winnings, if you think that's going to make you happy, can make you happy. I mean, they might do temporarily. You might think they would do, but doesn't usually last that long, and we can put pressure on these things to make us happy. But ultimately, what we generally find, in my experience of this anyway, and I think I hear it again and again, is that I did something in order to make me happy, and it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Do you share in that experience? Is there things for you that personally you thought would make you happy and haven't?
Yes.
What do you think?
Loads of things that I buy sometimes, you know, I like,
stuff.
I want this, and then I get it and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the reality of the situation, though, isn't it?
Yes.
You know.
And I think, like, sorry, can I just say something here?
Yeah.
Something that I learned, like, we're always trying to find happiness when we start being grateful for the things that we have. We find real joy on that, real happiness in being grateful with the things that we have around. Because, for example, when I moved here, I was feeling a bit sad, but then I started seeing like things around me and the things, a lot of things that I forgot that in one stage in my life I wanted them, and now I had them, but because I was thinking about my family or other things that I don't have. And I think that that's something like so easy to think about what you don't have, and instead of thinking of what you have. Or I remember I read a quote that said like, I remember the things. Always remember the things that you have.
Grateful. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It's about remembering the things that I can't remember it.
The things that you have now, remember when you pray for them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you have them now. So when you start focusing on the things that you have now, then you're going to find happiness.
Exactly. That's it. And I find this is interesting because I love podcasts. I love listening to other people's stories. I love podcasts. But what I also find interesting is I listen to people that have been really, really successful. And it's always so interesting because a lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them get to the top. It's all about them. It's all about what can I get for me. And they often will set up businesses as a result of suffering or actually not feeling good enough or worthy. And so they go out and set up a business in order to prove a point. Not that business is bad, but like it's kind of a little bit of a recurring theme. And they go out thinking that success or the money as a result of these things, or funds things as the cars as a result of it will bring them the happiness they're looking for. And as they progress, they get more and more, and they realize that it doesn't. And then what they almost do is they start to come down. So as in, like, they then realize what really brings happiness. Actually giving to other people really gives them actual happiness, and they know that because they've had the material things that we think we get happiness from. They've had it, and I take advice from those people. I'd like to take advice from those people, and I try to do that. And I remember, like, I think, although I certainly feel pressure to be like, get the best car, get the best house, get the best this, get the best that, I'm trying to remember what happens instead of wasting several years trying to having that as the goal. Is remembering that actually I feel like I've spoken to these people, I've heard other people talk about it, and it didn't bring them the happiness that they thought it would. So why am I going to waste years pretending that it will for me? And it won't. And so, like, these things weren't designed to give us the lasting happiness that we think they were. And I think that's really important. And again, that just comes from different places. Relationships, when the buzz of of love, of being in love, goes away. Jobs, some people move from job to job to job because they're looking for the next thing. Parents thinking that children Thea definitely agrees. Parents thinking that children will make them happy, but actually children come with their own responsibilities and issues as well. Now, it's also very, very, we want to make very, very clear that we aren't saying to people that happiness, being happy, is wrong, are we?
No.
Being happy isn't wrong. Being happy is is valuable, and enjoying things is good as well. But all we want to say is that actually being happy shouldn't be our primary aim, and just kind of
our goal.
Yeah.
Because sorry.
No, go.
No, because a lot of people, they are waiting for happiness to enjoy life, and they could spend. There's never going to be a moment where you will say, "Oh, my life is 100% happy," because we're always going to have troubles and problems and everything. So
my life is brilliant.
So if you wait for the life to be perfect, for you to start enjoying, for you to be happy, if you're looking for happiness, if you're after happiness or chasing happiness, you're not gonna enjoy life at all.
Facts.
And it's gonna be only like disappointment after disappointment. That's why you see a lot of people like suffering with different things, like I think, like when I suffer with anxiety, part of it was because of like,
Comparison. Comparison.
No. What is this? Biológicamente, like
biological.
Physical. It was like a physical.
You'll moan at me then.
It was like a physical thing, It wasn't just everything emotional, but also the other reason was because I was trying to find happiness, and because I was living in a very stressful time, I couldn't find happiness. So I think if you're trying to chase after like happiness all the time, you're just gonna live a very frustrated life.
It's a very selfish way of life, generally. If that is your main aim, and let me just give you like an analogy. So what I basically want to mention is that I don't think it can be consistent if, like, us to live in harmony, if everybody's best intention is our own happiness. It doesn't work well. If Nanny decides that she wants to live for her happiness, and then I decide I want to live for mine, unless you're completely, we're all going to do the same things, and this is this and this, which you're not, because some days you're going to want different breakfast cereals. Some days you're going to want to go and do different things with the day, and then you go and do those things. It's only going to separate you. It's only going to pull you apart. If you've got friends and you think, actually, what happens if I want to do something that's of harm to someone else? Your first priority is your happiness. So who cares about like how they feel about it? It doesn't allow us to live in harmony together, really. It's not a good way to go, and if we are, we've got to do it properly. But I just think it's a mess. Like, it's a mess if we try and live that way. And what happens also if that thing is bad for us? So if I say, actually, oh, Nanny, you do whatever makes you happy, and what makes you happy is smoking, is eating ice cream for every meal, every single day of the week. That's your driving force. You're doing what makes you happy, and that's not a healthy place to be always, is it? If that's the standard by which to live life, then also no one can say anything, because you're just doing what everybody's telling you to do in living for your own happiness. It's all just worth thinking about. That's all. And that's the reason we have these conversations, is to challenge, this world really a little bit, because the world uses happiness. It sells via happiness. Everything we watch on TV is, oh, you need this because it will make your life happier. And the truth is, the reality is it won't, but we're told it will.
Yes.
So enough about why not happiness. If happiness isn't the meaning of life, what is? What's that? What is that for us? What do you think that is for us?
Purpose.
You can look at the notes if you want.
Purpose.
Yes. And meaning. Absolutely. Yeah. Purpose and meaning is what we have decided, and we have discussed and talked about that, and written notes. We do have notes. I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw it out there. We're not as prepared as you think we are, or as we look.
We are. That's why we have notes.
Oh, yes. Yes. But life is about meaning, and I think our priority should be searching for meaning in our lives rather than happiness in our lives. Yeah. And on this podcast, we believe that we're created for a purpose, that actually our lives have a meaning and a purpose, and we are meant to be here. that God calls us, has an individual calling for both of us, individually, but together. Do you know what I mean? That actually, that we have a personal and unique job in order to know God and to make him known. And we've been given skills and talents and other things in order to do that. But mine looks different to Nanny, and Nanny's skills are different to mine, and we get to join in that together through marriage in order to do that. And this is what we should be seeking, is that kind of, okay, it's of course, as Christians, we're doing it from a base of knowing that well, believing in God, and that God gives us that purpose. We're created in his image, and so we take this baton forwards into our day to day. And that's what we believe we should be seeking, is to live that out. And honestly, we believe that if we aim at purpose and meaning, that happiness will be included in that. But it's not our driving force. It's actually, we want to know why we do every single thing we do. You know, whether it's the music we listen to, eating what we eat, doing what we do. And actually, if we go for purpose in those things, in meaning in those things, actually happiness gets thrown in there too. And there's nothing more honorable than living out for each and every one of us, yourselves included. There's nothing more honorable than living for what we believe we were created to do. Now, that being said, you mentioned earlier the biblical kind of term or biblical view on being happy. What do you think? Let's start with, what do you think the misconception is? Like, with people that are non-Christian and look from the outside in, how do you think people think the Christian life is or should be? Do you think? When it comes to happiness,
I think like people think like as soon as you receive Jesus, your life is gonna be perfect. And I think like sometimes we're seeing like, accept Jesus, like it's like someone is selling the gospel, you know, accept Jesus and your life is gonna be, and yes, it's gonna be better and it's gonna be good and it's gonna be like
an adventure.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna be perfect, and you're gonna have problems in different circumstances.
Yeah, I think also one thing I'd say to that is that sometimes people feel as if those that are searching for religion or have gone to churches or this are trying to be better than other people. It comes across, I know that's the way in the UK anyway, that it's viewed upon as if you're trying to be better, and so you're now going to try and teach me how to live my life. And people push back against it, and people, that's why it's called, you know, you're preaching at me. You know, that's where it comes from. It's like, you're trying to tell me how to live my life. And I think that's it's just not as if Christians or people that are religious are somehow perfect and all happy and know how to live their lives in some perfect way. And it's coming down at people, and I don't think that's the intention at all. And it's certainly not what we see and hear from Jesus. You know, obviously the Christian life is based around Jesus, or Jesus was the example for us to live by, and we should be aiming to live our lives. And he said some really interesting things about happiness and about actually being happy and suffering. Like, what? Suffering? Yes. Jesus didn't promise us that we would be happy, and that's a huge misconception in the church, that people believe that, oh yeah, you know, you're going to be happy.
I think yes, he promises, like, or not exactly promises, but he said that we're going to have a good life, because he said like God's plan is like la voluntad de Dios is like God's purpose is good, agradable, perfect. But he gave us the definition of what real happiness is. So we think according to the world, Jesus is offering us a really happy life. But according to Jesus, he gave us the exact definition of what real happiness is. So real happiness is this.
Yeah. Ultimately, Jesus came to bring the kingdom of God to earth. And so what we see is it is a common misconception, though, that this is going to be, you're going to be happy or happy on our terms rather than better. You say that, you're talking about our lives being better. The aim is that our lives are better, but better is not the same definition as better for us. It's not like, okay, I've got this definition of better, which means more money, better salary, more the best car. Better in the terms is knowing and being in a relationship with God and being able to be free of things and being able to know him and have eternity with him after we die. And that's better, because ultimately it's changing the definition of what better is. But Jesus says a lot about the trials and tribulations that we will go through as Christians. And although knowing Jesus and living out as a Christian certainly gives us purpose to life, it provides hope and encouragement and confidence for the future, it can still be filled with trials, as you've said. And that we will face, John 16:33 says we will face tribulation. Psalm 23:4 says, walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
But just let me...
difficult, yeah.
Should we complete the verse after?
No.
Promised,
but it's
because he explained something, but then he promised us something.
Yeah, but it's still you're still talking about the point that we have to go through it first here on earth. Do you know what I mean? Like that's where our happiness is challenged. Yeah, but it's good. And I think if we go on, the risk is if we go on. This is a private meeting. You're not here.
Let's finish and then we go.
Yeah, if we go on, we then go on off topic.
Okay.
What we're just talking about is the tribulations that Jesus has said that we will go through, right? And James 1:2 says that we'll experience temptation. We are warned, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you as though something strange were happening to you. 1 Peter 4:12. So it's important to understand that we will go through trials and tribulations. That's the promise to us. There's going to be amazing times. It's going to be an adventure, because you're going to take, our plans like this, and God's plan for us is up and down and up and down. But really it's the plan that God has for us is in a way to shape and mold us and prepare us. And this is damaging, because going back to those kind of perspectives, overemphasizing that happiness comes along with following Christ is dangerous. It's disillusioning to Christians, because if we paint a picture of, accept Jesus and everything will be good, what happens when trials hit? How are they prepared for that? They're not, because they've not heard that actually trials come with the relationship with Jesus as well. And that's really important, that actually, yes, life gets better because we can live in peace and know where we're going and know that actually through the trials we have a rock to lean on, but we're still going to go through trials. And we want to really emphasize that and bring that about. And this is about happiness. And so when we go through trials, we're not always happy, but we have to look again. We're looking at meaning. We're addressing and going through life with a meaning-centered focus. And what we do is we then go into suffering, looking at the meaning for suffering rather than, it's not meant to be because actually my happiness is the priority. And that helps us go through suffering, because if we believe that actually, there's meaning behind our suffering, it helps us be peaceful in our suffering. And I think sometimes it's difficult in the midst, absolutely. The emotional aspect of suffering is different. We don't always see the meaning or purpose behind it all of the time. But I think it gives us joy. I mean, it definitely says in James 1:2, it says to count it all as joy when we face trials and tribulations. What? Like, how do you, that's crazy, because it's almost impossible. But it's to know that when you're going through something, God's shaping you through it. And it might not be in that moment. That might not be the reason for it, but it's definitely, we can definitely be sure that there can be positives that come as a result of it. And I think that's a really interesting perspective. And also from a world perspective, some of the best stories are from people that went through struggles.
Yes.
You know, we've both got friends that have been through really tough times, and as a result of those tough times, have used that in order to propel them to go and do better things, haven't they?
We both have been through.
We're both examples of that, really. As in, you know, we've used what is it? You set up your small business as a result of lockdown, didn't you?
Well, but also like I lost my dad, and I think like I wouldn't get the relationship I have with God now and learn all the things that I learned and be the person that I am now without that.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And that's an important one, isn't it, as well? But it's in the moment, you definitely would have struggled with that idea, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And that's really important here, because people will be going through difficult situations and they'll go, I don't understand the reason for this. And we're not claiming that we understand the reason for it either. I know we live in a broken world, but actually the depth of situations are so deep that we don't know why we go through them. But we know that God can redeem through situations and show us, redeem us through situations, as in show us a light that we wouldn't have seen on our own.
Yes.
So I think it's really interesting to go, right, in the midst of my suffering, what's the meaning? And that's the meaning-centered focus that we should have, that purpose-centered focus that Nanny talked about.
Yeah.
So we're kind of bringing this to an end, really, which I think is nice. It's not too long, I don't think. How long are we on? Should we say? We're now on 32 minutes, which is quite good. I'm going to finish with 7 points what we mean about our meaning, how we define meaning. Do you want to read number 1?
Yeah. To display the glory of God. So
to use our lives to be a living display of God's glory to other people as best we can. I think that's great. Number 2 is to seek the kingdom of God. So for us to actively read God's word and understand what the kingdom of God looks like in order that we would display it, that we would use our mouths to talk about it, that we would be examples of it. Number 3.
To proclaim the works of God.
Yeah. If we don't seek it, we don't know how to talk about it. And that's it, to proclaim, to use our voices, to share what God has done, to share our testimonies. We get to, through this podcast, get to share what God is doing through us and in us. And some of that we share and some of that we don't share, and that's great, but that's it. Like, one of our missional purposes is to proclaim the work of God. Number 4, to grow in our knowledge of God. So again, going back to the word and spending quiet time alone and reading God's word and finding out who he is, because in order to it's just a massive benefit to understand who God is in character, in order that we would treat people right, in order that we would follow the word well, and just soak ourselves in it.
Yes.
But there's nothing. It's knowing, reading the word is important, but we also need to, number 5,
to believe in the word of God.
To believe in it as well. There's one thing in you can go away and read it, but we also need to believe it. And so sometimes you can read it with your eyes and you can even take it in your head, but if it doesn't go into your heart, that's crucial, isn't it? That's a real change. To share the love of God, to just share in any sense of the term. So vocally, but also physically. Like, what can I do to help other people? What can I, send a text to somebody else that might be an encouragement to them? And we're not perfect to that at all, are we?
No.
But seeking to be better. And then number 7,
To imitate the Son of God.
To imitate the Son of God. So we believe that actually, according to the Christian faith, that ultimately the meaning is ultimately found in Jesus Christ, and in him the questions about identity, origin, meaning, purpose, and destiny are answered with profound hope in Jesus. That we're beloved, children of God, that you are too, wherever you're at, whatever you believe right now. We believe that you're wonderfully and uniquely made, and that your life has purpose. But that we were meant to live together rather than selfishly. That actually through Jesus and his sacrificial love towards other people, we see that actually if we can live for ourselves. But the Bible is a redemptive story of how individuals try to go their own way. But actually, God teaches us that sacrificial love is the most important, and that we're beloved children of God, created by our Heavenly Father to reflect his glory, walk in his love, and do his will for our lives. Is there anything else you want to add in there, Nanny? Any way that you feel about these things, or things that you want to add?
I just think like if one of the keys of success. No. One of the keys to
drop some wisdom bombs
right to enjoy life, because I think that the thing is like to enjoy life and to live a life full of purpose more than trying to find happiness. So to live a life full of purpose and enjoying every day, one of the keys is to have to be grateful. To be grateful with the things that you have. To be grateful because you can breathe. I know it sounds very like
cliche,
yeah, like, oh yes, but it's true. Like sometimes we forget about the things that we have. But something that really worked on me when I felt that I couldn't find happiness in any place is, well, it was like just being grateful for the things that I have around. For example, when I moved here and I was missing my family and I was feeling really sad and zero motivation for anything, I remember the days that I was praying for Stuart, for a husband, the days where I thought, well, I'm going to have I don't know if I'm ever going to get married and all of these things. And then now I'm married and then I'm looking for something different, or thinking about the days that I wanted to, I'm going to cry right now. No, but things like that. Or for example, like when I have Thea now, and some days I'm feeling down, and then I suddenly look at Thea and I remember the days when I was praying to have a dog. Like for my closest friends, they know how important it is for me to have a dog. And so if we start putting our attention and energy and everything on the things that we have, we're gonna find joy on that purpose, and we're just gonna go with the life without looking for happiness, because we're never gonna find it. We find it on every single bit around us in a day by day.
No, that's good. The process, isn't it?
It's
not getting there.
Process,
it's not getting there. It's not the actual moment that you hit it. It's actual what we learn and how the process shapes us, which I think is what you're encompassing there, which is really valuable. I saw a thing once where the guy outside in his house looks outside and says, "Oh, looks at someone on a bike and says, I'd love that bike." And then the bike's looking at someone in a car, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love that car." And the car's looking down at the bike, and and it's just crazy, because when you're in the car, you're looking up at something else. You're looking up at a plane. You want to be in a plane. But actually you don't remember that you were once in the house without any of those things. And actually this process is important to learn and shapes and molds us. And I think that's what's really valuable. And being content with our situations, regardless of how it looks. And I think that only really makes sense in Jesus, really, in being content with those things for now. Yeah. Well, guys, we have come to an end. It's been another fantastic podcast. It's great to get these in and just discuss these things. It brings us closer together. The planning of it brings us closer together. And also it's great to be able to share these ideas outward. And we hope we've been able to to be a blessing and to really provoke conversation to be had, because this is just really important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to close?
You close.
Okay, I'll close. Well, guys, thanks so much. If you are on YouTube, like, subscribe, that'd be amazing. And yeah, we're always available via message if you want to just message us regarding anything or would like us to talk about or discuss from our perspective certain things. Let us know what you think, and we will be back next week for another podcast. Hope to speak to you soon, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.